Well, hello to everyone tuning in. My name is Courtney Hurst. I'm the Director of Arts Education here at the Center, and I'm happy to welcome you to Catch Up, where we spend some time catching up with our homegrown talent. These are artists who have all gone on to have some incredible careers in the performing arts, and they've all graced our Gallo Center stages too. So stay tuned and let's catch up. Today we're checking in with Sam Gerber. This multi-talented musical theater performer got his start on our very own stages with Stanislaus County's Yes Company, where he appeared in leading roles for such productions as Peter Pan and Footloose. Sam is a two-time winner at the Gallo Center's Valley Talent Project, and before the pandemic, Sam was performing on the first national tour of Broadway's production Mean Girls the Musical. So you're in New York right now?
No, I'm home. I'm here in
You're
Modesto.
home. You're home. You're in Modesto. Good. Yeah. It's probably nice to have, a little bit of time at home.
Yes.
I guess.
It's been 7 months. I've been here since March.
So, so you were on tour when the shutdown hit. What city were you in? Where were you?
We were in Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
Okay.
And it was a weird time because Broadway had shut down on that Tuesday night, if I'm correct. And we were like, does that mean we're shut down? Like, what's going on? And then, so we actually ended up doing 2 more performances after Broadway shut down.
Okay.
And a few rehearsals. We had a put-in rehearsal that week for someone who was joining the show as a vacation swing. And that was actually the last thing we did was his put-in. Was Friday, whatever day that was, the 11th or 12th of March. And we walked into that rehearsal knowing that our engagement in Florida had been canceled. That final weekend in Fort Lauderdale had been canceled, but that was it. So far, we walked in there, and within that 2.5 hours, the next month of Louisiana and Denver had canceled on us during that last rehearsal.
Yeah.
So then we got on the phone with our producers and everything, and they were just like, "Go wherever you can. We'll fly you wherever you need to go, and hopefully we'll be back in a month or 2 months." And here we are.
I know I remember we got kind of the shutdown here on a Friday. So I think it was Friday the 20th here. And, we had a full weekend of shows, and I even had student matinee shows that morning. And so we thought we'll be out for a week. Like, we'll just go home a week or 14 days. And then we'll come back, and then we just kept staying home and staying home.
Staying home. I know.
Staying home. Yeah. And here we are. Yeah. So I've been asking this question of everyone that we're chatting to here on this little catch-up series. We have all this time. So are you discovering new things or rediscovering old hobbies that you're getting back into?
Yeah, I think I redecorated my childhood bedroom.
Great.
I've been gone for 3 years, and it hasn't been done since I was like 7 years old.
Yeah.
So it needed a little.
It was time.
A little adult uplift. So we repainted and basically just bought some new bedding and pillows and some decor, which was nice. And then and I've been gardening more. I wasn't gardening before, so I've been gardening since I've been home, and landscaping and doing some touch-ups around the house that have been needed with like flowers and new plants to get in, just to liven it up a little bit.
I guess the timing of it was kind of perfect, right? Because it was like getting into that summer, and we really got to fully take advantage of the beautiful weather that we have out here.
And it's been nice here. It was hot for a little bit, but it's been some nice weather all 7 months.
Yeah. So what then, I guess, are you looking forward to getting back to most? Probably getting back on tour. Maybe.
Well, yeah. Getting back on tour and doing our show, of course, is number one.
Mhm.
But really, we have such a great family on tour, such a great cast, very kind-hearted souls.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to be there. Everyone loves the show and doing it 8 times a week. So I think definitely just like getting back into the swing of things in within the show, but also within this new family that we only had 6 months to get to know each other.
Hmm.
7 months, 6, 7 months to get to know each other, and then we were cut short. And we've now lost more performances than we had done.
Oh,
Um, so we're feeling it,
yeah.
and we're
Yeah.
staying in
What, yeah,
contact. And
what a threshold to cross, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
it was a weird threshold at 6 months because we had done 6 months of performances, and then we've now been off for 7. So
Yeah.
it's crazy.
So for those that are going to be kind of tuning in here, the show that you keep talking about is the first national tour of Mean Girls.
Yes.
And so I think not only is a national tour always, I think, a very cool and unique experience, but you're on that very first national tour. So talk to me a little bit about what that is like. So that means that the show closed on Broadway in New York, and now it's going out onto the road across the country for the first time, or even sometimes outside of the country. So
Mhm.
what does this first national tour look like? And tell me about the process there.
Yeah, so our Broadway company is actually still open.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, so we have our sister Broadway company, and while we were rehearsing in New York, we did some meet and greets with them, and we met all
Cool.
of them, and um, they saw our final run in the
Yeah,
rehearsal room. They all came and watched, which was
that's
a
great.
very nice, beautiful
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah.
Um, and so yeah, it was very interesting because they wanted to revamp the show. And so a lot of times what happens is, that usually if that first Broadway company closes and they decide to take it on tour, it's pretty much the same.
Right.
Like everything is basically the same. Maybe some things have to change set
So that
like
it can
dimension
fit on a
wise
truck.
so they can
Right.
fit it on trucks and in certain houses. But for the most part, like we actually had a lot of technical changes, and script changes. And so we were working with the creative team directly, which is Tina Fey, booked by Tina Fey. Her husband wrote our music, and uh, Tony Award winning lyricist Nell Benjamin, and um, I mean, Tony Award winning director Casey Nicola.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and so we were in the room with them for 3 weeks, and they were rewriting our show, and we'd come in to a new rehearsal every single day with new scenes, and well, not entirely new scenes, but new rewrites. And
Yeah.
we had a lot of music changes for the tour. um, so we call it Mean Girls 2.0. And Mean Girls 1.0 was still running while Mean Girls 2.0 was out on tour, which was interesting. And they have since changed the Broadway company's show
To
to
mirror what you guys are doing now too.
yeah.
Did they talk to you at all about why for kind
Yeah.
of the revisit and the rewrite?
The show itself, when they had opened it on Broadway and froze the show, which means they stopped making the changes and previews, um, they just weren't entirely happy with the final product. And so 2 years later, they were like, "Oh, we have a chance to really revamp."
Right.
Or a year later, something like that. And so there were just a lot of things that they just weren't happy with the final product. A lot of things from the original DC out of town tryout that they cut for the Broadway production made it back into the show. Things that they had loved
That's
that ended up getting
interesting.
cut came back
Yeah.
in. Um, and it was really just some directorial things that they wanted to make Katie's entrance into the new world of high school a little harsher. They felt that in the finalized Broadway version that it was a little too held back and open to her,
Mm.
and it really just has to be super duper harsh. So we added some new music into the opening number. Most of it's the same, but we added some ensemble stuff within the opening number to make that transition for her much harsher.
Mm-hmm.
And we changed the end of Act One, really giving it more of a big ending rather than the original version had like a softer ending, and we just really wanted to end it with a bang.
Yeah.
Um, so
So
yeah, I
you
mean, it
had,
wasn't like crazy changes, but
yeah. So you had 3 weeks to work then with your creative team.
yeah, we
And
had three
then
weeks.
did you extend your rehearsal period after that too, or?
So we learned the show basically in 2 weeks,
Mhm.
and then that final week was like little tweaks and really just setting it in the rehearsal room. And then we flew to Buffalo, New York, and teched it for.
Okay.
We teched the whole show in about 3 days, which was really fast.
Yeah.
But they had already done most of the teching for the Broadway company.
Hmm.
And so even though we had all of these changes, most of the cues were the same. Most of the like light settings were the same.
Sure.
So they had to add some things, subtract some things that were cut or added, but for the most part, the show was basically done. And they had worked extremely hard right before we got up there. The crew had gotten there before us,
Right.
and so they had dry teched almost the whole show before we had even gotten there.
Hmm.
So
Which
it
that
moved
is
really swiftly.
super helpful, so that
Yeah.
they feel really comfortable and ready to go as soon as the performers get there. Yeah.
Yeah, so we had some tweaks to fix, but for the most part, it was a really smooth run once we got into Buffalo.
So how many trucks is the show?
9,
No.
9
Nine.
semis. Yeah.
9. So and so then on this tour, how long are your stops? How long are you generally in a city
The
of show?
shortest amount of time we are ever in a city has been a week,
Okay.
a full 8 performances.
Hmm.
The longest that we did do was Chicago for 5 weeks.
Hmm.
We were supposed to do LA for 6 weeks and San Francisco for 5 weeks.
Hmm.
So those would have been really long stops as well, but the longest we did was Chicago. Yeah.
So those are always I love knowing how many trucks are on shows, because as a tour kind of is on tour longer and longer and longer, it goes to kind of different regions. And so when the Gallo Center gets a show, it's been on the road for a little while. And so our tour stops shorten, right? So sometimes we even will just get a one-off Broadway show. Normally it's at least 2 shows that we see. But so then the amount of stuff that you travel with, right, has to get smaller and smaller. So I think the biggest truckload that we've seen here was, I think, 6 trucks that came through with Annie, which was a lot. Like normally we're kind of looking at 3 and 4 trucks. So
Right.
trying to envision 9 trucks, yeah, that's a lot. So then how big is the cast?
There are, I want to say 30. We've had some numbers fluctuating with vacation swings and such.
Sure. Yeah.
But I believe in the show every night is 29.
That's a lot. So that's like,
Yeah.
that is a lot of, and I'm sure there's a couple of costume changes for each person within that.
Oh yes. we are in new costumes every time we come on stage after the first 30 minutes of the show. Like that first chunk is like all the same day, so we're all in the same thing, but every scene after that is a new day.
So it's
a new everything from socks to jackets to
like maybe an accessory, a hat or something.
I mean, we full change. There's never a time that we're not in, like we never just add an accessory. Everything is from head to toe change.
Yeah. And so all of that is like choreographed and timed in. And yeah. So then how many dressers do you have typically?
The male ensemble dressing room will have 3 dressers. There's 6 male ensemble tracks. Each, so they each share one. So a pair.
So a pair to a dresser.
Yeah. Pair to a dresser.
Yeah.
Which gets hectic.
Right.
And crazy. Especially most of our changes, I believe, are about no longer than maybe 2 minutes, with all of us changing at the same time.
Yeah.
And not even like sporadic. Yeah. And we have a lot of changes that happen on the deck. We don't even use dressing rooms on tour usually. Everything happens right behind our set.
Mhm.
Um, and even then, most of our changes happen literally in the wings.
Yeah. It's a 2-act show.
2-act show, 2.5 hours. The ensemble is on for about 2 hours and 10 minutes, I think.
Gosh.
And so when those 20 minutes that we're not off, we're changing.
Right, right.
It's a marathon show. It's not
So
like,
so then on tour,
yeah,
as you were starting that, I mean, that is you're traveling, you're doing 8 shows a week, so that's more shows than there are days in a week, right? Um, you're talking about time differences sometimes. What did you find that worked for you to kind of keep healthy and sane as you're going from place to place?
yeah. Well, what's nice is I'm a swing in the show, so I'm not doing every single performance.
Mhm.
And for those of you who don't know what a swing is my job is basically to understudy everyone in the male ensemble. And then
How
I
many
also
tracks is that? What is that?
six male tracks, and then we slightly cross gender swing as well.
Okay.
So I could at one point do up to 15 tracks. And I also understudy Damien, who
Right.
is one of the leads of the show.
Yeah.
So I my body does 7 tracks all the time. I
Mhm.
know, but I could be called in an emergency situation to do any of the 15.
Any of the 15 ensemble, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what did you
Well,
find that worked for you?
um, I think trying to stick to a schedule as much as possible.
Mm.
We hadn't really gotten into any crazy time changes yet, which was nice. Everything was
Mhm.
basically like an hour here
So
and there.
had you kinda, like, traveled down the
Yeah, we
eastern
had
seaboard?
traveled.
I guess
Uh,
Chicago.
yeah, we had gone up and west, and then we went back up and down.
Got it.
So like we had a couple hour shifts, and I
Mhm.
think maybe one of them was a 2 hour shift. Um, but it wasn't because it was like we went an hour and then we went another hour,
Mm.
from New York time.
Right, not, like,
But we
2
never
hours
went
at the
2
same
hours at
time.
once.
Yeah,
Yeah, which was nice.
yeah.
We were about to do a big shift and go from the East Coast to Colorado.
Mm.
Um, so that one would have been a big time shift. But really, like sticking to a schedule, um, like I am not a morning person, so
Mhm.
I've been really trying to get to become a better morning person,
Sure.
and get up and get ready for the day. And the problem is we're up so late, and our
Mhm.
bodies are doing stuff so late at night that most people are already in bed by.
Right.
And
Right.
we're still kicking our face at
Yeah,
10:30 and
10:30 at night.
whatever. Yeah. So I mean, it's hard because I mean I am a night owl, so it's nice that my body is still up at midnight and 1 by the
Mhm.
time we get home and eat dinner and get settled in. Um, but yeah, I think like sticking to a schedule, trying to always get to the gym whenever possible,
Mhm.
because we have to be stronger than our show, and our
Yeah.
show is just bonkers, energy wise. So not only do we have to be strong strength wise, but we have to be strong stamina wise.
Mhm.
And so as much as we can train our bodies to be better than our show,
Yeah. So
um,
I think that's great. I want to like call that out for the students that are watching, right? Like you as an individual, like you need to be stronger than the show, right? The
yeah,
responsibility you have to keep your body in shape and
because that's the last thing you should be worrying about,
right,
especially in my job. Like I
right.
am in charge of every safety thing, every lock of a table, every
Hmm.
lift I have to be able to do at a
Hmm.
moment's notice.
Yeah.
And we have like all of our set changes we do ourselves basically.
Are
And they
they
all
all kind of
involve.
choreographed into the show? Yeah.
Mhm. And you can be off by a foot and hit someone
Yeah.
and hurt them. So it's like my job is numbers and knowing numbers on a stage and
Hmm.
spike marks and
Hmm.
but then also choreography, staging, and acting.
Yeah.
So it's and quick changes and props and backpacks and desks and
Right.
lunch tables
and
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 yeah, and so it gets stressful and crazy.
yeah.
But yeah, so my last worry should be, can I do the show tonight?
Right.
Right. And it's more focused on what am I doing tonight? Because there have been times where I've done a track in the at a matinee and
Hmm.
I've done a different track that evening.
That evening. Yeah.
Hmm. Multiple times. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So I want to switch gears a little bit and talk about your time here in Modesto.
Yeah.
And so I think probably a lot of people tuning in will recognize your now slightly grown up face from your time with Yes Company. And I know you spent a lot of time with them and spent a lot of those years here on the Gallo Center stage. Um, and so I think like what roles like Bert from Mary Poppins,
Yeah,
Peter from
my
Peter
my
Pan,
first show was I was in the ensemble of Hairspray,
Hairspray, right?
and then I was Charlie and Willy Wonka,
Mm-hmm.
and then I didn't do Ragtime. That was the one summer that I missed.
Mm-hmm.
And then Bert and Mary Poppins, Marius and Les Miserables,
Right.
and Ren and Footloose.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that's already at what 17, 18 years old is a great resume behind you. Which of those was your favorite? If you
Oh,
can choose them, because they're all pretty different roles.
they're all very, very, very
Yeah.
different. I would say I think my personal favorite is Bert and Mary Poppins.
Okay. Why?
I think my family's personal favorite and like all of my friends' personal favorite is Peter and Peter Pan.
Mm,
Just because it was so fun and wild, and
yeah.
uh, I was also so young. So it was. I mean, I was 14,
When you did
so
Peter. Yeah.
it was very. It was my first. I mean, like Charlie was a big role. Peter was bigger.
Mm-hmm.
Peter had to do more than Charlie really did. Um, I'll be honest. Um, so it was. I mean, yeah, it was. I think that was just a great moment for me in my
Mm-hmm.
theatrical career. But I would say Bert and Mary Poppins for sure.
So what about Bert? Why that role?
I think. Well, I loved that Bert as a character in the show is so much more than a character. He's the narrator. He's
Mm-hmm.
walking in and out of scenes. He's present but not present.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he knows where the story's going the whole time, but also is in the story.
Right.
So he has to switch constantly. And I think, I mean, and of course, uh, going over the rooftops in Step in Time,
Yeah.
and walking up that proscenium,
Mm-hmm.
which I did.
Yeah.
20, what was it, 23 feet in the air, 30 feet in the air, something like that.
That sounds about
Um,
right. Yeah.
and tapping upside down and flipping and tapping on the ground
Yeah.
uh, and I think, but outside of Bert, I think Mary Poppins is just such a wonderful storyline,
Mm-hmm.
um, with amazing lessons for parents and for children.
Mm-hmm.
The children of being responsible for themselves, but also being able to live in their imagination,
Yeah.
but knowing when the real world needs them, that they need to wake up,
Mm-hmm.
um, and play the game and be fair.
Yeah.
Um, but we also have the parents who are too responsible and too freaked out by the world and too focused on making money, and that's it.
Right.
And not living with their kids and really getting to know their kids and play with them and live in their own imaginations.
Kind of some really great moments and lessons for right now
Right
too.
now, yeah,
Mhm.
especially when we're all locked inside. And we are all distracted by our phones and our technology when all we really need to do is use our imagination whenever possible. And then of course, like anything can happen if you let it. We all
Mhm.
just need to, if we put that energy out into the world and we go after what we want whenever we can. We can't always go after everything we want. It's just not that how the world works, right?
Right.
But
Right.
if you take these little steps constantly, you'll eventually get where you want to go. And
Mm-hmm.
it might not happen quickly, but if you reach for the stars, you only get the stars. But if you reach for the heavens, you get the stars thrown in,
Right.
right?
Right.
And so you get everything you've ever wanted if you just push your boundary a little further
Mm-hmm.
all the time. which is
And
why I
really,
think that would be
yeah, and just really open your mind to, the experiences that come your way. And
yeah.
yeah, yeah. So, I mean, all of those roles you played like before you turned 18, right? So now you're a couple of years away from it. If you could go back and revisit any of those roles, would you want to? Which ones would you want to?
Yeah, I mean, no, I mean, Bert, I would love to do.
Hmm.
And I think the original version of the show, the original staging and choreography and set design and everything is stunning.
Hmm.
Um, and so I would love to be a part of uh, a revamp of the original production. Um, and I would love to be in the ensemble of that show anyway, because it's
Yeah.
just wild. Um, I honestly, Marius and Les Mis, sure, I would love to do again. Um, the rest I would be okay without. Loved them all, but um,
Happy to leave them where they are.
happy to leave them where they are.
Try something new, and yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think that's great. So, um, here's another question, and this is something that I am really interested in talking to you about, being, working with our education department and the students in our community. So, the Gallo Center opened in 2007,
Hmm.
which would have put you in what, second, third grade?
That.
Yeah. So you're really part of this first generation of students who has grown up with the Gallo Center in your backyard.
Hmm.
Um, and so I'm just, as especially a student who loves the arts and was raised in the arts, what was it like for you to be able to spend so much time on these stages? We're a world class venue. We have an incredible production team that's able to stage some really incredible works, and we have these great touring shows. Like part of what you're in right now. You got to share the same stage with them. What was that like as a kid, and how do you think that helps shape kind of your appreciation and experience in the arts?
Yeah, I think being able to work, especially with Yes Company, being able to work with such high quality technical individuals
Hmm.
um, and designers was fantastic,
Yeah.
and really taught me how to treat them and learn from them, um, and understand what they were doing and be grateful for what they were doing, so that when I'm in this position now, I know how to deal with things, but also how to ask for things when I need them.
Mm.
Um, I'm not afraid of, I mean, I obviously respect them, but if something about my mic is bothering me,
Right.
and not feeling right on my body or whatever, I feel comfortable enough to ask them,
You know how to
which
have
I
that
which
conversation.
I definitely, yeah, learned
Yeah.
at the Gallo Center. Um, but I mean, it's been a surreal experience in the past couple years. That What year did they come through Gallo? What the West Side Story tour came through Gallo,
I think
2009.
I think like 2010, 2010, 11. I
Yeah.
think, yeah, 10,
Um,
11.
the Anita on that tour,
Hmm.
um, who I saw at the Gallo Center, I just did West Side Story with she was my Anita, in at the Lexington Theater Company in Lexington, Kentucky,
Wow.
at a regional house in the last summer.
Hmm.
So I literally watched her 10 years ago now, and was working with her in the same show.
Hmm. I mean, that's an incredible full circle moment, right?
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
beautiful. And even one of our lighting booth operators on tour with us has toured through the Gallo Center.
Yeah.
I don't know if she was in any of the shows if she was working on any of the shows that I saw. I
Right.
don't remember. But she knew exactly when we were going around saying where we were from. She was like, "Oh yeah, I've been to the Gallo Center, and it's a beautiful space." And
Yeah.
um, she loved however short she was here, those 2 or 3 shows, but she loved the experience and loved the center, which is
Right.
a great thing,
Yes.
um, for
Yeah.
you guys. And
Yeah.
upholding that status is great.
Hmm.
Um, So yeah, I think having the access, and I think even the youth now have even more access than my youth
Hmm.
generation did,
Hmm.
since the center was just beginning,
Right.
right? Like we barely had those kind of outreach
Hmm.
student performances. Those didn't exist, or at least I never went to them.
Right.
Maybe once. I think I went to one in high school, a
Hmm.
dance performance, but other than that, we just didn't. So I think this next generation is going to be very, very lucky to have the arts in their lives there.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's great. Um, so what else are you kind of working on right now? I know you're waiting to get back to Mean Girls. We certainly hope that that happens for you sooner rather than later. But what else is maybe on the horizon for you?
Yeah, not much. I mean, I'm still doing some coaching, working on my own craft, and
Mhm.
um, taking classes and coachings and all of those things. Um, but I would like to point out that I am available for coaching Q&As and master
Yeah.
classes online for high school theater clubs, high school dance classes, high school drama classes if you want me to speak. Just want to put that out there. Find me on social media and DM me and we can set something up.
Yeah,
Um,
you can make sure that we kind of include your social media information there, and they can find you that way. Yeah.
yeah. So that's there. And yeah, nothing at the moment. You never know. I mean, I've been doing some auditions and TV auditions and film auditions,
Mhm.
but nothing yet. So who knows what
So
the next
that
few
is
months will
still
bring?
kind of it did that kind of pause for a little bit, auditions and things
Yeah,
like
everything kind of
that were
dropped for maybe 3 months ish,
Mhm.
and then things started picking up around August,
Yeah.
July and August. So
Well,
who knows? Who knows what will happen? But um, nothing at the moment.
I just want to say thank you for kind of taking the time to, catch up with us. And, Lynn talks about it all the time too, but we really do have such a great kind of pool of homegrown talent here. And we've seen so many people go off and start incredible careers and just have really incredible careers in the arts. And so it's fun to be able to catch up with you, and we'll get you back in with some Yes Company stuff too. Yeah, if you're
Yeah,
interested
I'm
in.
here and available.
We have a big 30th anniversary coming up this
Oh
summer.
yeah,
30 years of Yes Company, so we'll have to plan some fun stuff then.
great,
All right. Well, thanks, Sam. We'll end it there, and we'll talk to you soon.
great. Thank you.
Okay. Bye. Thanks.